So the first recipe that I decided that I was going to do for this channel was the pimento cheese recipe from the Poole's Diner Cookbook. It seemed like it would be relatively simple, not a whole lot of actual cooking, no taking things in and out of the stove, of the oven. But when you start to look at it, you'll see there is a beautiful picture and a long story about it before you hit the actual recipe. And the recipe ingredient list is, you know, relatively short. It's over here. And then there's a small bit about the pimento cheese and what they do at the restaurant. And then here are the instructions. So once you start looking at it, you see, oh, first you have to make another recipe in the book, the basic cider mayo. So that recipe we've separated, and you'll see up before this one. And then there's also, oh, you have to toast the peppercorns, and not called out in the ingredients, the red bell peppers that you buy, you're supposed to pickle them, which I think we forgot, as you will soon see. We neglected to notice that. So it's relatively easy to skip those things when you have instructions that don't really have bullet points, or do this first and then do this and then do that. Because for time-wise, really you should probably roast the peppers and pickle them first, but it would be nice to know that up in front, up ahead of time for, you know, for me, because I totally missed it. But looking forward to it. Okay, so the pimento cheese recipe in the Poole's Diner Cookbook is one of two, I think, that call for this toasted peppercorns. And she says it's a good flavor, a very important flavor, so we're gonna go ahead and toast some peppercorns. She says high heat for 90 seconds. I have an induction stove here, so it actually heats up very, very quickly. So I'm, oh, moved a little bit. I don't do high heat all that often on here, but just waiting for it to get hot before I put the peppercorns in. Yeah, it's getting warm. You can see I'm not touching it, but I'm just hovering my hand about an inch or so above it to feel how hot that is. These heat up very, very quickly, kind of like a gas range. And unlike, oh, you can see a little bit of steam coming off there. So now, 90 seconds. I'm just gonna, there's definitely some amount of volatile oils coming off of that and eating at my throat. I can definitely feel it. So, what we need to do after this is grind them finely, and then to make it as fine as you can, you actually, oh, these are like popping. You strain that to make it super fine. Ooh, I've not done this ever before. Wonder if it says high heat, but that was, I think, a little too high. Definitely getting some smoke out of this. We're at about 60 seconds right now. I don't want to shortchange it, so it's like almost like peppercorn popcorn. I've turned it down to about medium high because I felt like it was just a little too rip-roaring high. Alright, that's my 90 seconds. Turning it off. Oh, and these are not gonna... I'm gonna just hold it off the heat and let those cool before I put them in that pan. Pick up a few that I lost. Yeah. I I can use a spatula, that's what I can do. That'll help. So now we just let these cool before we grind them. And move on to the next step, which will be blistering the peppers. So the next step in making the pimento cheese from the Poole Center cookbook is to roast 2 red bell peppers. She does it on her gas range, just directly on the gas burners. I don't have a gas range. Could do it outside on the grill if you have access to that, but I'm just gonna broil them. So what I'm gonna do is put them in the broiler, and then when they start getting charred on one side, turn them over, turn them around until they're pretty much charred everywhere. So I've got the oven on broil and set to the highest setting, highest rack. I also like to leave the door cracked open just a bit so that it stays hotter. I don't know that it actually does anything, but that's what I do. Plus it lets you hear and smell when things start getting a little bit too burned. Happens very, very fast when you're broiling. Takes a little while for it to start, but once it gets going, it's pretty quick. You'll see the tops have started to get blackened. That's maybe not where I want them to be in the end, but we'll leave it like that for now. Turn them over and start at the bottom. You'll see I've covered my cookie sheet in foil. My cleanup crew really prefers that. It's the starches and sugars sort of cake on pretty easily. It's a tough cleanup, so that helps. We're just gonna turn them to a side that doesn't seem really very blackened, and keep doing this. Just say you want to char the whole surface. So seems like we're on the right track. Getting there. Pretty blackened on that side, on all the other sides. I think we're going to call that good. So now we put them in a metal bowl and cover it with plastic wrap. And let that sit for about 15 minutes before we take the skin off and the seeds and the stem and all that off. So there we go. Roasted peppers. All right, so we have our roasted red peppers here in the bowl. They've been sitting for at least 15 minutes, cooling off and getting all ready to peel. And so I'm gonna use this paper to put the skins on, I think. She says to use tea towels, a dish towel, to get the skin off so you don't run it under water so you don't wash away the flavor. They're still very hot. If I need to, I'm gonna use paper towels just because sometimes it's hard to get this crunchy black stuff off of your tea towels, although I do have some older ones that I don't really care so much about that we can use if necessary. Really hot. I think it's been sitting for like 30 minutes and it's still very hot. So just so you know, it will take a while. So it's peeling pretty well. I am gonna put it on the paper towels when I'm done here. Hard part about this is that it gets all stuck to your fingers. So got most of the skin off now, and I'm going to just use the fact, that this is soft to take out the seeds, the stem and the seeds. Get it a little bit cleaner. What we're going to do when we're done with this is cut them up and make it ready for the pimento cheese. So it needs to be in small pieces. So we're going to get all the, it's really hot. Okay. So that's good enough for now. I've got another one here. So now I'm going to clean up and set up to chop this up. Okay, so we have this cutting board and I need to finely dice these. So that is what I'm going to do. Relatively small cutting board, so I probably can't do all of it at once, but few seeds in there, but I'm not too worried about that. So that's one of the peppers done. It looks like we'll be about right. It says it should be in the end about 3/4 of a cup. Have our chopped roasted red peppers, and now I'm going to clean up a bit and get ready for the rest. So I need 1 tablespoon of finely ground toasted peppercorns. We toasted these earlier and they've been cooling for quite a while. I'm going to put in maybe 1.5 tablespoons into this coffee grinder. We do not use this for coffee. We only use this for spices, and it hasn't been used in a while, but it's going to be loud. All right, a little bit more. Whew. All right. Okay, and so she suggests that you strain this pepper through a fine mesh sieve. I have a really tiny one here. Oh yeah. So I'm gonna use this to push it through. I still have a bunch of little pieces left that are not small enough to go through here, but I assume that she just wants the really small one. So let's make sure that that's at least a tablespoon. And yep, we have at least a tablespoon here. So that's done. And I think now we have all of our ingredients, we can actually start assembling. Okay, we're finally ready to assemble all of our ingredients for the pimento cheese. And I have my KitchenAid blender, mixer, food processor. That's what it is. I have my KitchenAid food processor here, fitted with a grating attachment. It's supposed to be finely grated. I did not choose the smallest one because I find that cheese tends to just kind of clump together when you grate it that small. First, I'm going to grate this onion. I have about 1/4 of a red onion here. I need 2 tablespoons. I'm just going to grate it and see exactly how much I end up with. So. All right, that's a lot of onion. I'm going to throw this in my bowl over here. And I have a tablespoon. Yeah, it looks like we'll have about 2 tablespoons. So I'm going to use all of this. I'm just going to dump this onion in this bowl. And we'll get the rest of that when we get the cheese. Okay, so put the grating attachment back on. I have my cheese already measured out and cut to a size that I'm pretty sure will fit through this hole, which is an important step. It's a lot of cheese to grate. I'm not going to do that by hand. You can, obviously. So I've got a 3-year aged cheddar, which was a little bit difficult to find. My local grocery store that I do most of my shopping at actually had some. It was not the brand that she says she uses. She uses Hooks. This is Black Creek. I think I took a picture. We'll insert that here. And then the sharp white cheddar, I found some Kerrygold that was, I think, aged for about a year. So that's what I'm using today. So now we're going to shred the cheese. Okay, I've done something wrong. It was on wrong. My bad. That should work now. Going to dump this out. I will deal with the buildup of cheese that happens every time I use the grater for cheese a little bit later. So I'm going to dump this in my bowl. And get it set back up for the white cheese. I'm just gonna leave that buildup right now because you'll get more with the white cheese anyway, so. So yeah, I think we'll just leave those bits as they are for right now. I might take them out to nibble on later. Now, I'm going to assemble. To move this back here. Now we have all of our cheese, and the only other thing we have in here right now is the grated onion. So we have our grated onion and our grated cheese in here. And quickly verify what I'm supposed to be doing. Okay, already realized that we've done something wrong. We were supposed to pickle these peppers, so they are supposed to sit in some cider vinegar overnight or for at least 3 hours. We would like to eat these tonight, so we're gonna let them sit for about an hour, and then we'll be back to put everything together. It does say we need to mix all of this together to get it, you know, all the white and the yellow cheese mixed up. The onion is supposed to go in with other things, but you know, it'll be fine. It's supposed to go in with the peppers and the mayo in another step, but this will work fine. Just further indication that you should read and reread and reread your recipes and plan out what you're going to do when you do things like this, where you're making the pickled peppers from scratch instead of buying a jar. All right, so we'll pause for about an hour here and come right back. Okay, we've waited about an hour, and now we're ready to assemble the pimento cheese for real this time. To measure the cider mayo that we made in another video, I've got this plunger type measuring cup. This will go up to 2 cups, so I need, I think, a cup of the mayo, and this is perfect for it. It's really easy to get it all out. I'm going to show you how I measure that right now. But we're putting all of these ingredients. I don't know if you guys can see that. Let's put that over here. So, getting the mayo that we made into the measuring cup. Basically, you fill it all the way up to the top, and that is pretty much exactly what you need. So, let me get that out of the way. I don't even know where I put the lid to that. Oh, there it is. Okay, so we're going to put the mayo in here. My children are making some noises in the background. A little concerning. But anyway, this is the peppers with all of the vinegar that they've been pickling in. Goes right in there. And then some salt. And let's see, a tablespoon of this pepper that we made. And then some hot sauce. I generally use Frank's. I find it's not too hot for me. I like things spicy, but not too spicy. And after a certain point, it doesn't have a lot of flavor. But Frank's is sort of perfect for what I like. Ashley Christensen says that she uses a combination of Texas Pete and Tabasco. So there we go. I think that's everything for this. We're going to get this all mixed up. And so there's the sauce for our pimento cheese, and then we just mix that in. The onions are supposed to be in here, but I put them in this bowl before. So they're in with the cheese that's been all mixed up. And just mix it all up. I'm going to get probably a larger spoon. Mix this up. Oh, it's gonna be hard to mix up, but I need to get all of that mixed up there. That was very peppery. I tasted a little bit of that sauce. And it definitely has quite a strong black pepper flavor. So, she says to let this sit in the refrigerator for a while to, you know, be cold and thick and, you know, meld together. We are probably not going to let it sit for that long because we would like to, we're gonna put it on burgers tonight, which we're going to eat here relatively soon. But everything else has been cold and it's all been sitting together, you know, separately cold, so it's probably fine. But there will be plenty left over. This makes a very large batch, as you can see, so I'm glad we have some friends coming over. They can help us eat it. She suggests serving this on crostini. Usually at the restaurant they serve it on thinly sliced toasted pieces of baguette. We'll probably have it, like I said, on burgers and also probably on crackers later, and I'll let you know how it turns out. That's it, all together. So we made the pimento cheese and we had it with our friends. They came over, we put it on burgers. We've had it in the evening on crackers. I made some crostini, just like they serve it in the restaurant, to have it for one evening. I think we have a picture of that. So we've had it several times. We still have some left over at this point that we're going to take with us to dinner with some more friends tomorrow. And so that's good. Made an awful lot of pimento cheese. So the recipe says it makes 6.5 cups, enough for 18 sandwiches. It makes a lot of pimento cheese. The recipe was a little more involved than I generally would have expected. But that includes making your own mayo, which actually is really, really simple. And if you have the time, make your own mayo. I've done it before. It's really not bad, and it gives you a different flavor profile than any mayo you can buy in the store. It's delicious and easy. Finding the cheese was kind of difficult. I went to the Whole Foods nearby. I went to the Fresh Market. Neither of those actually had any 3-year aged cheddar, but I did find some at my local grocery store. We happened to go to a different grocery store today, and we're just curious to see if they had any 3-year aged cheddar, and I think the most aged cheddar they had was 2 years. And that was the same brand that I bought for this recipe, the Black Creek. So finding a 3-year aged cheddar might be difficult, but does it make a huge difference? Probably not. So use a cheddar you like. If you want to make it more simple, use a cheddar you like that you can find easily. Remember to pickle the peppers. Or use pre-pickled peppers. Use a mayo that's already jarred if that's something that you don't feel comfortable making, and it'll be delicious. The toasted black pepper, it is very pepper forward. The flavor in this pimento cheese, there's a lot of pepper in it, especially later after you do let it sit for, it says, I think it says to let it sit at least an hour before serving. We didn't do that the first day, but we could tell that the flavor was different the second day. It was delicious. It was a little more difficult than I would expect for something like this, but definitely ways to make it a little bit easier. So enjoy.